Hey everybody, it's Mark here from Northeast Photographic. We are a film lab located in Maine, and we serve the whole country, and even some people from Canada have started sending us film, which is great. Anyway, I'm back in the lab this Monday, and I thought I'd go over some of the cool projects that we did in the last couple of weeks, and also I've sort of hinted at it, but today is finally the day. So I thought I'd do this sort of as I go over the other stuff that happened throughout the last couple of weeks. We are going to set up our Pysography ink set for our Epson printer. We have a 24-inch Epson printer that is currently going unused. It has been replaced by a Canon Pro 2100 printer that was generously donated to us. Now we have a P6000. The P6000 is a great printer, but it doesn't have automatic matte or glossy ink switching. So for me, it makes a lot more sense to just print color with the Canon printer. I have been sort of curious about this Pysography thing for a long time. And in fact, I have actually been like pretty skeptical about it for a long time. I think many of my friends that I have in photography will tell you that I have at one time been like, this is some kind of weird snake oil. I don't believe that this will make an improvement, but I've grown a little bit. Times have changed a little bit. I've seen some things, and my curiosity about it never went away. So I contacted the guys at Vermont Photo, who make it, famously Jonathan Cohn. Actually, they have a really good Instagram follow if you're interested at all. They go over their alternative process stuff. They're not really posting a lot of Pysography related content now. It's mostly doing these like photogravure projects, which are awesome. I mean, it's like kind of high end edition making, which is really cool. But anyway, they still sell of course, all the Pysography stuff and support it. And in my kind of quest to just be as like fully as like full service as possible, I wanted to embrace it. So what we're going to do while I go over some of the other stuff that we did this week that was cool is we're going to take all of these different inks, like this one. This is cold tone dark gray. This is cool tone medium gray, ultra HD matte black. You got it, kind of the list goes on. You have warm tone light gray, warm tone medium gray. It runs a gamut, and there's even a gloss optimizer, which is great for glossy prints. You take these inks and you fill up these cartridges. Now these are 700 milliliter cartridges. I got the 350 milliliter kit for cost reasons, but that's fine. That should last me a while. And then we're gonna have to set up the printer, which involves well, right now what they're recommending is to just do a straight swap and not do any like flushing with a separate chemical flush. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna install all the inks in these cartridges, install them all into my printer, power it up, and then they have basically a test target that you repeatedly print to prime the inks and clean out all the ink residue as it goes through the system. So, it's slightly more wasteful, but the process of using a product that they sell, which is called Pyseo Flush, is incredibly expensive. So I guess I'm happy to avoid that. It should be less expensive to waste some ink than it is to use that whole product, because I would have actually had to buy a whole set of these and a whole set of chips, and then and then basically like just use it to flush out the printer, and then another set for these. I mean, it would have been like literally like $1,000. So I don't want to spend that, so we won't. All right, so yeah, let's get into this video, and hopefully we can multitask with what's going on here. Okay, let's get into the first fill, and let's see if I can do this right. I just watched a video on how to do it. It seemed pretty straightforward, but we'll go over it together. So to do it, you grab your ink. Here we'll start with just the one that happens to be closest to me. There are a bunch, and you open it up, and you kind of shake it up. Okay. All right, and then you're going to want kind of everything that you need right next to you so you can kind of quickly move through this. They have a separate funnel for every single color so that everything remains as clean as possible. I've also put down some paper towels because I'm sure there will be some spillage, and I'm wearing an apron. So you pull this out, set that aside. You get one of these syringes out because you have to be a heroin addict to convert a printer into a pyrography setup. That's a joke. Right. This is some real-time fun. I'm opening this guy up. Okay, and then this guy needs a little capper. This is just kind of a little adapter that allows it to fit into the cartridge itself. You ever find that you just like rip Ziploc bags because you can't open them the proper way? Arrgh, bastard. All right. Right. Okay, so to go over it again, I have cartridge because you can't see what I'm working with. Ink, which I just shook. Funnel. Syringe. And syringe adapter right there. Okay, I also have the chip that tells the printer that this is a 350 milliliter cartridge. It tells it how much it has when it starts, and then it tells me when I'm basically running out of ink. So we'll set that aside because I only need that at the end. Okay, I also have where? A Sharpie. So you take the Sharpie and you say, cool tone, dark gray. And you write that on the back of it somewhere. What's the up position? Up position is probably this way. Yeah. So let's just do C, T, D, G. Okay, it's my scratch handwriting. Okay, here goes nothing. We open up the cartridge. And then there's supposed to be a cap there. And they said to just take like, oh, hold on. I need to get gloves. Oh, I have them here. I want pigment ink all over my hands. I mean, if you grew up, maybe it's the time period that I'm from, like the cartoons that I watch. But I mean, can you not put on rubber gloves and go like that every time? I mean, it's just like, it's what you have to do. Okay, so you take your paper towel, and I guess there's like a little nozzle here. I say you just lift it off. Oh yeah, okay. So then it's just like open. I guess it's kind of like a squirt nozzle. I don't know. Okay, so set that aside, and then it's got this little silicone cap here. I'm gonna take that off, and I'm gonna insert the funnel, like so, and then I'm gonna start pouring. Let's do this so you can see it. I want you guys to watch the ink go through. Ooh, this is so cool. You know, philosophically, I've never been like a huge fan of inkjet technology versus silver printing or color darken printing. I mean, that remains true. Obviously my preference is always going to be towards, I'm going to set this down so it's going to be a little hard to see, towards traditional printing technologies. However, I'm not a complete Luddite, and I do recognize that the there are many aspects of archival pigment printing that are superior, certainly to RA4 color printing. I mean, RA4 color printing is it's very difficult to do consistently. The materials that we have now are not as good as materials that we basically once had, and the papers, they say, are not as long lasting as archival pigment materials. So I recognize from a gallerist standpoint that you might be hesitant to sort of make an addition that is based around technology that you know is not going to be as long lasting as another technology, especially when the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and you go to a gallery show and it's got all archival pigments on the wall, and as a viewer you stand there and you go, these are gorgeous, like there's nothing wrong with this technology. They're highly detailed, they are as vivid or as muted as you want them to be. And then, I mean, the real difference is the selection of papers is immense. I mean, there's a million archival pigment suitable surfaces, and then alternative process ones that people take and they adapt for the process. So it's just like, it's more like other art forms in that sense, because you can really be selective about the way that it prints on your paper and the surfaces that you're using and all those things. You just don't have that in RA4. It's going to be glossy paper, and it's this thin commercial-y stuff. It's going to be a matte paper that kind of doesn't look as good as like fiber-based papers from the darkroom. There are definitely drawbacks. Now, that being said, once it's behind glass, the thickness of the surface doesn't really matter all that much. And even the actual like feel and all those other aspects that are so great about the archival pigment materials just become less important. Um, and I will always say that a darkroom print has just something I can only describe as presence. When you look at it, it's got this depth, and it's as though you can see that there is just more to be seen, more layers in the actual print itself. And I think that that's largely because you are literally looking at a three-dimensional surface, and it's containing clumping of the silver materials, and it's true. I mean, it's no different from a negative. You can there just is more there under the surface, whereas with the digital print, it's whatever the ink is put down. I mean, that's where it ends. Looking, getting your eye really close to it, it does not contain multitudes, to kind of say it simply like that. So I don't know. There are trade-offs. All right, I need to stop for a second and look at the notes again. I know I need to prime this somehow, but I sort of forgot how. So let's check on that to make sure I do it right, and then I'll come back. Okay, I'm back. I figured out what to do. So it's got this little hole here, and you take your priming syringe, and you kind of hold it at an angle. Let's do that. And you insert, and then you just start to draw out the air. And I think it's just going to pull out all of the oxygen. So it's said that with the 350 milliliter kit that I am to, I think, like, do this a couple times before it starts getting any ink out. So that's still pulling nothing. Oh, almost barking. Okay, what am I doing wrong here? It's not getting anything. I'll do it again. Oh, we got something. Okay, so it says to pull some out. And we rotate like this. I'm guessing this just like brings the bubbles to the surface again. Let me pull out a little bit more ink. Okay. Yeah, I still see bubbles in there. I'm just gonna try to do it again. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's all ink, so I'm feeling good with this. All right. Okay. That's one cartridge. Oh, I have to do the chip. All right. So with the chip, they normally said that you had to push this thing down, but I don't really see it on these cartridges, so I'm just gonna fix it in place. Oh, I'm glad I looked at this, because this actually has the ink that it's for. So this says LLK, and we did cool tone dark gray. So what I need to do is go and find the list of inks and where they go in relation to the channel there, and then use the correct chip in this one. Because each one, like cool tone dark gray, it's got to go in a specific slot. It might be like yellow or magenta, but it's got to go in that slot. So we're going to figure that out and make sure we do that properly. Ooh, I'm glad I caught that. That would have fucked up my day. Okay, I'll be back to you in a second. Okay, that's one cartridge. Oh, I have to do the chip. All right, so with the chip, They normally said that you had to push this thing down, but I don't really see it on these cartridges, so I'm just gonna fix it in place. Oh, I'm glad I looked at this because this actually has the ink that it's for. So this says LLK, and we did cool tone dark gray. So what I need to do is go and find the list of inks and where they go in relation to the channel there, and then use the correct chip in this one. Because each one, like cool tone dark gray, it's got to go in a specific slot. It might be like yellow or magenta, but it's got to go in that slot. So we're gonna figure that out and make sure we do that properly. Ooh, I'm glad I caught that. That would have fucked up my day. Okay, I'll be back to you in a second. Okay, back. Yeah, I got my key here, and this tells me where they all line up. So they could do a little bit better with the documentation. But it says cool dark, which I am assuming cool tone dark gray is the right one, and it's saying that that goes into the cyan position. So let's find the cyan chip. Okay, I got a C. Let's look at all the other chips so that I know I'm not fucking this up. Y, PK, LK, C. Fuck. What do I have two C's? What the hell does that mean? Oh, it must be light cyan and cyan. No, I have light cyan. Well, maybe I just have two for some reason. Right. Going to look and make sure I have all the chips that I need, and then we'll get back to you again. Yeah, okay, I got them all. So I guess I just have two cyan for some reason. I don't know. All right, here we go. Okay. So what we got here is the little chip that just tells the printer what ink it is and how much it has left. So I'm going to install it on top of here. Now it just sort of sits in place on here. So what they say to do is to tape the back of it. I'm going to use some leader card tape that I have right here. And they basically say this is to do this because these are reusable cartridges, and you're going to be taking these out all the time and shaking them to agitate the inks, and especially when you're, theoretically and hopefully using them again. Anyway, so that's one of these. I have to do all the rest of them. Probably not going to talk through while I do that because that would be a 40-minute video, which nobody wants to watch. I will describe some of the projects that I did last week as I fill up some more of these. And then we'll just skip to the fun part where I turn the printer on. So, okay, we got one. Cool tone, dark gray. Gotcha. Okay, we're going to do cool tone, medium gray now. So, yeah, I had some cool projects last week. I love it when it's when I get a little project that breaks up the normal day-to-day operations of what we're doing. So I had a contact from the Jamie Wyeth gallery. Jamie Wyeth is a member of the Andrew Wyeth family. Andrew Wyeth is incredibly influential and famous painter of the state of Maine and elsewhere, and has done the most beautiful paintings. I mean, they're really just incredible. And I say that as someone who doesn't know a lot about painting. And the gallery, they kind of contacted me. They said, "Oh, we need this scan for a catalog, and that's easy enough to do." But the kind of interesting thing is it's a dupe of a painting that must have been done kind of like, you might say, back in the day. And it was shot on 8x10 Ektachrome. So when you open up the film, it's basically just you see the painting, and then you see the edges of the frame that were still left in it. But otherwise, you just have this incredibly detailed reproduction. I mean, by somebody who really knew what they were doing when it came to this. I mean, it was really beautiful. I'll say more about the painter in a bit, but it was kind of like a landscape scene. And then, of course, they requested an advanced scan, so we're using our Eversmart Supreme scanner, and they wanted it fluid mounted, no problem. So I went through the fluid mounting process, which is really the best way to get the most out of any kind of sheet film. Especially when you're dealing with like older film, it'll fill in all the gaps and make your retouching time go down by like quite a bit. Um, so it was pretty cool. The resulting file, I scanned it at 2000 ppi. So the resulting file was quite large. I think we're talking about 8 by 10. So you don't need to scan at high ppi sizes to make a big print. I think that the ultimate, when you scale it down to 300 DPI, the printer was like, or the size ends up being like 86 inches in the long dimension. So of course I sent it to them. They're thrilled with the scan, very happy with the detail and stuff. But the only note I get was this file is too large. We can't open it. Can you send a smaller one? So okay, I sent them a smaller one, and they seem to be good with that. So I don't know. That was a fun project. Doing. I love seeing how we used to duplicate stuff in the past and dealing with older materials and kind of getting the best out of them. I got to tell you, there's nothing like 8 by 10. It is the Lord's format. Okay, so I've got all the cartridges loaded up, and I have kind of a cheat sheet here. I'm just going to go through them and hopefully get this figured out. I'm just going to start inserting them. So what do we have? All right, so sorry about that. The phone must have flipped down from the gimbal, but whatever. If I had to switch that off or cut to this part in the editing, then I apologize, but here I am. I went by my chart and I loaded the corresponding colors, or rather shades in this case, into the corresponding colors. And I think the next step is basically just to turn on the printer. So I'm going to do that, and I think it's going to prime everything. And knowing life, something's probably going to go wrong, but we'll cover it then, and then we'll start doing our purging test prints. Here we go. Wish me luck. Got my little plugs here. Get them off the floor.